Can't find me on social media? Let me tell you why. Hey, what's up guys? It's Hafsa Slayman and you're listening to Confessions of a Doctorholic, and today I have a pretty big confession for yous. So basically, for those of you who have been looking me up at Hafsa Slayman, for those of you who have tried sending me messages and couldn't find me in pretty much any social media platform, I deleted everything. I was going to try to make it sound a little bit more mystique, but that didn't really happen. So let's rewind a few months. And yes, it has been a few months. It's almost going to be 6 months without social media. I never thought that I would have been able to do this, especially because I had this crazy aim to get to 10K followers. And for those of you who heard that episode, you would have known that I wanted that for kind of silly reasons. And my silly reason was I wanted to share things with you. So once you hit 10K followers on Instagram, you have this option where you can swipe up and you can redirect people to a website, to articles, and you don't have to talk about it or like you don't have to put that link in your bio. You can just let people swipe up and there you go. So basically what happened was for the past few months, I guess it's been a year now. I don't know. Honestly, I keep losing track of time. So for the longest time ever, I've been studying for the USMLE. The USMLE is basically the US medical board exams. And initially when I started studying for it, it was kind of like, oh, cool, this is making me smarter. I'm learning more things. I'm learning it at a faster pace. And it was all fun and games, if that's what you guys consider fun and games. No, it was actually quite entertaining because I felt like I knew things at a different level. But here's the thing. I decided a few months later to test where my knowledge is at, as one does. Because before sitting this exam, I was like, okay, I want to know if I'm going to pass it with flying colors. And I had a really high aim. I was like, okay, I'm going to score in the 250s, 260 range for sure. I've been studying for ages. I know what I'm on about. I'm definitely improving. Let's see where I'm at. So I sat a practice test, also known as an NBME. I do not know the full form for that, but we call it NBMEs. So I sat an NBME 23, I believe. And I failed. And I was so gutted. There were a fair few things that I didn't understand. There were a fair few questions where I was like, I actually have no idea what they're talking about. But I was like, I'm not going to let this go. I'm just going to answer the 200 questions that I've got. Yeah, and I forgot to mention to you. So basically there were 4 sections worth 50 questions each for an hour and 15 minutes. And the total length of time that you've got to complete the exam is 5 hours because they incorporate 1 break. So I woke up early in the weekend, sat outside in the balcony, enjoying the rays. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have my mind clear. I slept well. I had brekkie. Let's start with this practice test. And I finished it and I didn't feel great about it, but then I have this thing in my head where if I feel great about an exam, sometimes I'm a little bit let down because I feel like I've done better than what I've actually done. So sometimes when you don't feel so good about an exam, I feel like, maybe it's because you kind of didn't really believe in yourself. And then when the results come out, you're pleasantly surprised. So that's kind of the goal that I was going for. I'm going to be pleasantly surprised by this exam. And I was pleasantly surprised because I absolutely failed that exam. It was shocking how much I failed it. And I was gutted. I was seeing red for the rest of the day. And no, I didn't punch a wall. I just basically could not focus or anything. I was just so shocked and so disappointed, and I couldn't understand what went wrong, why this happened to me. I was so mad. I was so disappointed in myself. I was like, I don't know what I could have done differently. And the first thing I do, because that's like literally the only thing a girl does when she's upset, was I called my mum. And my mum's always been the voice of reason. She's always been the person to support me. She's always been that person that's there for me. She listened to what I had to say. I cried my eyes out. I let everything go. And she was like, okay, now what I want you to do for the rest of the day is I want you to go out. There was an event happening that day. It was someone's birthday, I reckon, and a barbecue. So she was like, just go, have a blast, and then we'll discuss it once you calm down. I went. I don't remember having a blast. I don't even remember that night, to be honest, because all I was thinking about was the exam. I may have been talking to people, but like my mind and my emotions and everything was to do with that exam. And unfortunately, my brain went to a place where I was like, I'm not good enough. I don't know how I'm going to do well on this exam when I literally have no control over the practice test. And I tried telling myself, this is just a practice test. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you're dumb. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It literally doesn't mean anything. It's a practice, and it's a practice for a reason. It tells you where you're at, and it helps you move your next foot forward and to figure out in which direction you want to go. But I just couldn't seem to see past the fact that it's a fail. So I call my mum back and I call a friend up and we talk about this, and she goes like, why haven't you had enough time to study? Because that was my complaint. I was like, okay, so I've reflected on this, and basically I go to placement and then I come back and I feel like I don't have enough time to study. So even though I've been studying for the longest time, it may have not been that effective. And I was like, okay, so I wake up, this happens. I go to placements, and then, I don't know, I'd like exercise, I'd eat, whatever, and it's the end of the day. And then she was like, okay, let's go through this. Like, what else are you doing? Like, you know, you've got a few hours before bed, so like, what else are you doing? What's happening? And she was like, what about your social media? And that was a bit of a sore spot for me because I really enjoyed putting up my episodes on my Insta stories. I enjoyed interacting with all of yous. I enjoyed getting those messages. And whenever anyone wanted help getting into medical school, or wanting to know what resources to use to study a particular topic, or I don't know, like I used to get like the randomest things. But like if I could help someone in whatever way was possible, even if it's like motivating someone, because I remember I got one message about someone going like, oh, you know, you mentioned that you exercise every day. Like, how do you stay motivated? How do you do that? I enjoyed being that person for whoever, like whichever of you reached out to me. I didn't want to give up my social media, and particularly not my Instagram, which was the thing that took up most of my time. And the other thing was, it wasn't just like me interacting with messages and waiting for messages to come in and replies and whatever. It was also me posting photos on social media, and that takes about an hour by the time you figure out a caption, because honestly, deciding a caption takes ages. And you pick a photo and you do that every single day. And you want it to match the other photos so it doesn't look completely out of place. And it was too much. So that day, I was like, okay, I'm going to go cold turkey. I'm not going to announce to anyone that I'm going to delete my social media. I'm not going to do anything. I don't want anyone to stop me. I don't want, like, literally, I just don't want to think about it. I'm just going to go for it, and I'm going to see what's going to happen. And like, it doesn't matter. Whatever the consequences will be, it does not matter. So I was like, okay, you know, I've built up a bit of a following. I think it was like around 3K or something like that when I deactivated my Instagram. So I was like, okay, I'm going to deactivate it because I kind of don't want to lose that and start from zero again. And Facebook, I sat in bed one morning and I wasted an hour because one video rolled out to the next and the next and the next. And I remember the first video being home hacks. So like random things you could use at home for cleaning. I know that sounds really random, but like it was honestly so entertaining. And then it rolled onto some like funny videos And I just kept going through that, and then I was almost late for placement. So I was like, okay, that's going as well. Clearly, I have zero control over the things I do. So I just, cold turkey, straight into the jugular, deleted everything. And now, reflecting back on that decision, there are no regrets. I feel heaps better. I thought I would feel so anxious not knowing about what's happening in the world. And to be honest, the only thing that I miss, I wonder if you guys want to guess, the only thing that I miss is not my friends and my family and all of that, because they have my private number, so we can stay in touch and we can talk and send iMessages and whatever. The thing I miss is all those memes from puberty, med school memes, and some of those beautiful travel destinations. Actually, not really the travel destinations, because this year, it's a little bit difficult to travel this year. But it was the memes. The memes were great. Whenever I was in a certain mood, those memes would lift me up. There were some comedians as well, Comedy Central. My Instagram revolved around those memes. So, I feel like it's done a wonder to my mental health, which was kind of weird because I'm usually an optimistic person, so I didn't think I could be elevated even further. But I feel like when I was on Instagram, I was looking at other medical students and other people and going all of these guys are successful. And I know I shouldn't be thinking that way, right? But that's where my brain was at. I was all of these guys, they know how to juggle everything, and here I am struggling with life. And that's definitely a poor way to look at it, but that's where I was at. And I'm not saying it happens to everyone, but to me, it was a bit unhealthy for me. I'm glad I went off. I'm glad I'm not second guessing myself at the moment. So, basically, what I'm trying to say is I don't regret going off social media. It was definitely interesting, and it's interesting right now living without social media, not being able to post stuff on my Insta stories, not being able to show people what I've eaten, what I'm doing, what I'm studying, but definitely no regrets. I'm not saying this is forever. All I'm aiming to do is to finish my USMLE and my school exams, and then I might come back because I really love interacting with all of you. I really love getting those messages. Even some of those that say, we really love your podcast. We really enjoy listening to you. I love each and every one of those. So here's my other piece of news, actually. This is another deep confession. So basically, this is the last episode of season 2. That's why I thought, let's go for a big confession. I'm going to take a couple of months off this time. And once I'm done with exams, because my exams are scheduled for the end of June, once I'm done with exams, I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back with a bang. I've been recording. I've been thinking about all the things that I want to tell you, and I've been writing down all of my experiences. So we're going to talk about me going to the psych ward and how that felt, some more surgery confessions because I've had some very interesting moments, but it's all going to have to wait. So guys, please, if you haven't already subscribe to my podcast because I will be back soon. If you had me on social media, I will be back to entertain you soon. And at the moment, I've also got a YouTube channel, so check it out. I've got in detail what happened on my social media detox. And I'm going to come back with a bang. So have a good one. And thank you all for the support.